Welcome everyone, good afternoon. My name's Caroline Logan. I'm Programme Director for BuildForce, reporting to you from finally a sunny Dorset day. I think it is UK-wide, so I hope the sun is shining for you all. So delighted to have with us today two of our mentors and a previous BuildForce candidate to share with you the role of a PMO programme manager. So exciting stuff. Sit back and enjoy. Over to you, Angela.
So welcome everyone to our virtual career chats. I am Angela Forbes and it is a pleasure to welcome you. So these chats are to bring the careers in construction closer to you now that you are transitioning. Now, it is hard to take the first step when you can't see the staircase. So these virtual chats allow you to hear from veterans doing the roles you're interested in. Now, we'll hear from two incredible veterans, both within the discipline of programme management. So this strategic project management role, if you like, and that will be discussed by Paul McBride, Associate Programme Manager of AECOM, and Jason Hones, Regional Director of South West National Highways. So without further ado, we will kick off. We'll hand over to you, Paul. We'll switch our cameras off.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much, Angela and Caroline, for the opportunity to present today on this. As a BuildForce mentor, these events, this opportunity to present is really worthwhile, not only to pass on my personal journey, but provide you an update on industry opportunities and indeed expectations. So without further ado, so PMO, so Programme Management Office, or Project Management Office, two different kind of definitions. I'll be talking to you about the Programme Management Office. So programme management itself is becoming bigger, it's more important, it's becoming widely regarded as a fundamental function within major projects and programmes. My journey into programme management started when I left the RAF a couple of years ago. I was a project sponsor within RAF, dealing with RAF infrastructure, predominantly ISTAR, ISETs, capability development programs, etc. I decided to leave the Air Force after 26 years and pass my CV on through to BuildForce, and this is where BuildForce really make a difference. My CV was passed around through the really well-established veteran network, landed with a number of companies. They called me up direct, which was fantastic, and a number of opportunities were developing. AECOM came first, knocking on the door with a more solidified offer, which wasn't far from me, so it was a no-brainer really. And I took the offer and moved into programme management, but particularly within the United States Visiting Forces Defence Commission as an assurance and governance manager. Assurance and governance is a key tenet to programme management, so it's a really good opportunity to move into the commercial sector, the construction sector, straight away. So how did I get to that position then? So I left the RAF regiment as a sergeant and then commissioned with the view of, well, if I get promoted, I'll stay within the RAF, but quickly soon realised that it wasn't for me and I really wanted to move into industry. So along the journey, I started thinking, what do I need to do to build my brand and to shape myself for industry? And that was the usual, looking at the various courses and educational programmes. I quickly realised there was a lot in the military that you could use and could gain for free, a lot of knowledge, a lot of qualifications that you could do, and I would advocate you do that first of all before you start using learning credits, etc. The next thing I did was look on LinkedIn, for example, looked at the various job roles and just mapped some of the descriptions between the job roles and see where the similarities were, what their essential criteria, desirable criteria, qualifications were that they were looking for as well. And then from that, I knuckled it down to some key courses that I really required. So I'm not from a typical engineering background, typically, you know, REME or Royal Engineers. So I'd been at RAF, I had to really go into some qualifications so I can prove to any new employer that I had the skill sets to be employed. So I went and did the APM qualification, the management of successful programs, management of risk as well. And I also went on to do an MBA. And the reason why I did an MBA using my enhanced learning credit was purely to understand the business language, and that's really a translation, just to understand that commercial dialogue, so you can act as a consultant in that way. I'm not saying go away and do an MBA, but for me, it was just something that I was able to top off and complement the skill sets that I'd already gained within the RF infrastructure area. So that set me up as in a good position. So I had a number of qualifications. I had a degree. I'd been doing a project sponsor role, but again, only for a short period of time. So I went into a relatively senior role as a senior manager within AECOM, within program management, and from that point on, as a veteran and as a person who retains their kind of core values, like we all will do through our kind of careers, being proactive, immersing yourself into the job, into the company, not just aiming in your swim lane, really exploring other opportunities, led to moving into a more established program management position and on to an associate role as well. So PMO, then let's talk about that. So the PMO function itself, so program management is an umbrella term, and then from my point of view, underneath that you have say program advisory and the program delivery aspects as well. So as I mentioned before, I work for the USVF at the minute within a program delivery role. The program delivery obviously comes after the advisory. The advisory piece is where a client, for example, would talk to a certain company, ask about the kind of whole infrastructure, how a major project needs to be delivered. That is a certain contract between the company and that client themselves. And they would give them a governance structure, a framework, a kind of a methodology, suitable methodology, and some of the tools, including digital tools, and how to deliver that program. And then when you're into that delivery space of program management, so program delivery, this is where you're working alongside the client or the customer. You're working alongside your delivery teams, as well as assuring perhaps the main contractor as well. So it's different from project management. I said delivering a project, you're not responsible for an individual project. You're providing that overall assurance across a number of different disciplines to ensure that the number of projects are delivered in line with the whole program of works. And as an assurance manager in particular, I'd be working alongside my commercial colleagues, my risk colleagues, planning and schedule colleagues as well, and any of the program directors. So you get a really holistic view of the whole program piece in itself. So what does that do? So that gives you a lot of exposure to a number of different opportunities, gives you a lot of exposure to other elements of the program, not only on the client side, but obviously internally as well. So in my case, within AECOM, and how other programs are being delivered as well. And it gives you insight into where perhaps you want to take your career as well. So from that, say within 18 months within AECOM, I started to work out and really solidify a career development plan. So for me, program manager at the moment, I now want to move into more of a program controls element, where I'm kind of program controls manager, looking at the schedule, the risk element, etc., for major projects and programs. That would then, with the program management piece, complement my current skills and hopefully set me up for further positions in the future, and hopefully moving perhaps into a director role, either with AECOM or another company. But that way I've got that kind of rounded skill set as well. So next thing I want to talk about is networking. So networking, I'm sure a lot of people have heard about it on the call. It's really, really important skill to have, and there's no time like the present to really start your networking. If you're not on LinkedIn, etc., then I encourage you to obviously do so. First of all, think about who you are and what you want to be. Start thinking about your brand. How do you build your brand? What do you want to sell yourself as? And as I spoke about before, do you want to be a project manager or do you want to be a program manager? Where do you want to work? What kind of industry do you want to work in? These are the type of things that will try and shape your future and shape the qualifications that you want to have as well. Don't be scared of reaching out to people on LinkedIn, asking them for a chat. Hey, great to connect. Thanks very much for connecting. It'd be great to have a chat, borrow 30 minutes of your time. Particularly other veterans are really good at offering 30 minutes of the time, an hour of the time, and just talking about their company, their journey, just similar to what I'm doing now. and getting a feel for what they've done, what their company looks like, what their expectations are, and perhaps any opportunities as well. And that might not be the case of where you send your CV. It's just a case of you building up your knowledge. You finish the call with being thankful for the call and saying, great, can we have a further on chat later on? And perhaps it'll be, no problem, send me a CV. And then before you know it, you start to build into those connections. So that's really the benefit of networking as well. Whilst you're doing that, this is where you then feedback that information and try and enhance your branding as you move along. So you really, you knuckle it down to say, this is what I want to sell myself as, before you eventually say, well, okay, I'm ready to put my CV in for a particular role. I'm ready to pull the trigger, and then you go for a particular role and you set yourself up for the interview. That allows you to understand the industry as a whole. The various companies, the various projects that are going on, the challenge that have been faced by some of these companies delivering major projects. You've all heard about HS2, for example, on the news, and how companies deal with that, how people move from companies to companies or roles to roles, and the challenges that's faced, because it's not always an easy journey. Part of that whole process is really to understand your own needs and your own requirements as well. What works for you? Where do you want to work? What kind of company do you want to work in? What kind of sector? What environment do you want to work in? Where do your strengths lies? And again, that's all that intelligence you need to do that helps you build that brand. Part of that whole journey again is really being realistic. A senior director said to me once, the fact that you've got into this industry, it's a great first step, and now you're in it. It's about building your reputation and building your skill sets. And before you know it, you won't be applying for jobs. People will be asking if you're interested for other positions, and that's how you can be acquired for other roles as you go through. So that's really how I did my PMO journey, how I got into the PMO journey. So let's take a step back into the PMO itself then. So I spoke about program management then. So top tips, if you're interested in program management, I would say let's have a look at the various methodologies that govern program management, particularly ISO 21503 dated 2022. You go into management of successful programs under the company Alexa, so I encourage you to do that as a qualification. A lot of companies ask that as a basic standard. Of course, you've got the APM methodology as well. But in particular, we have Project 13. So where I mentioned before that the program management sits between the client and the delivery agent, Project 13, for example, they call it something different. It's called an integrator role, which is essentially the same as a program management role. And that role is to really bring all the stakeholders together in a more consolidated form. So you're filtering everything through, again, similar to a PMO, but it's just a bit more focused on delivery. And then you really are, as an integrator, client side, and sitting with them and enable them to deliver the program. So it's kind of wearing a bit of two hats, really. So I would encourage you to look at the various program management methodologies. PMO itself, I would encourage you to have a look at the strengths of a PMO within the companies. A lot of companies still deliver big projects. If you look at Saudi, for example, as big projects, but actually the programs within themselves, and what they really need to govern all that between these various elements, disciplines, is a PMO. And sometimes it takes these major organizations a little while to realize that they do need a program management office to run that. And what that enables is just us to pool the various tenants and disciplines and delivery aspects together. So you have perhaps an integrated delivery plan, an integrated portfolio, an integrated pipeline, all that type of stuff. You think, well, maybe that's obvious, but it's on a program of large scale. A lot of this stuff can get lost in the kind of detail, lost in the noise. So that's what I would do when I was looking at PMO. Opportunities within PMO. Well, PMO, program management, as I said before, is growing stronger and stronger every day. It is becoming a global function, and particularly within AECOM. I'm sure other core companies as well. There's a number of opportunities coming online for PMO skill sets as well. So beyond the program managers, and indeed I have seen program managers move into the program management. Project managers move into the program management space for further opportunities. which is great. You know, if you've got experience as a project manager, perhaps come from a Royal Engineers, you're well suited to either project management or even program management, and you can bring all those kind of real detailed construction skill sets into that space. Major companies then, what's on offer? You know, there's a number of major projects that are out there at the minute. You know, defence, you understand what's going on across globally at the minute. Defence is increasing, budget's increasing, programme management, PMO opportunities will come online within defence. Now, you may think, well, I don't want to work for defence anymore, I want to do something completely different, but actually sometimes it could be a really good step into the industry, because companies are looking for veterans and service leavers to bring that skill set, because you understand the process, you understand the client, you understand the capability requirements, you understand that whole environment. It's a really good opportunity just to, you know, change your uniform and be someone different, but deliver in a very familiar environment that you're used to before you move on to something else. And there's no reason why you can't do well in that first role before being offered something a bit more significant, something completely different, perhaps, you know, in the energy sector or the nuclear sector or things like that. Or indeed, if you want to stay in the defence sector, because it's still a specialised industry in itself. So really, in summary, PMO is growing. It is I wouldn't say a niche skill set, but it's become more and more recognised as a valuable function. There is a number of program management methodologies out there. I mentioned Project 13, but if you look at the Major Projects Authority as well, the Infrastructure Project Authority as well, and, you know, look on .gov.uk and just search up major projects, you can find a lot of detail how major projects being delivered. The landscape is changing, because the you know, the industry and indeed, you know, the number of clients, they want major projects to be delivered in a certain way. We want to not be delayed by, you know, say procurement delays, budget issues, challenges, extra, etc. That perhaps things that HS2 things do need to be delivered now, and they're looking for that expertise to just drive that across. And you as veterans and service leavers, you certainly bring that expertise into the industry, and that the need for that expertise will never go away. So that's it for me. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present, and I look forward to answering your questions later on in the presentation.
Brilliant. So good morning, everyone. My name's Jason Holmes. I'm the Regional Director for South Western National Highways. And National Highways, big company. We get given effectively £25 billion every 5 years from the government to spend on big projects and renewals and everything else. And we have project managers, program managers, PMOs, in order to make sure we spend that money wisely. So a quick bit on, you know, where have I come from? So 26 years officer in the Royal Engineers. I commanded at squadron, regimental level, and I spent about a third of my time doing engineering and construction stuff, a third war fighting, and a third of my time in army headquarters and main building doing policy jobs. Some of which was working with Abbey Wood and doing the financial control of the army. So I left 26 years, lots of staff jobs, lots of experience, lots of acronyms. And probably the first takeaway for everyone on the call is no one understands the difference between a major, colonel, a sergeant, or anything like that. They understand what a private is. They know what a general is. Everything in the middle is completely opaque. They just know you're a veteran, and they're not even sure what veterans are either. So a lot of it is that need to translate what you've done into what somebody is looking to hire. The second takeaway is that, you know, just as Paul said, what you can really be good at is being that translator. If you go into building within the defence sector, to be that translator between the army or services lingo into industrial and construction lingo, because they are different worlds, and what we think as natural in the military is completely unnatural everywhere else. And the MOD does love a good acronym or seven. So right, next bit is, how did I approach resettlement? I think the first thing is, you guys and girls are all far better than I am, because you're on this BuildForce call. BuildForce either didn't exist or I didn't know about it when I left 6 years ago. And it is a job to get a job. You've got to take time. You've got to work out what you need to be doing. I thought, having been a commanding officer of an engineer regiment, doing construction operational tours, having done financial knife fighting in the main building, working with Abbey Wood for equipment procurement, I'd be a shoo-in for any type of program manager job out there. It's a lot harder than I thought. How did I do it? I networked, I connected, I went on LinkedIn, I made as much time and effort to go out and find out what was ongoing. I spoke to everyone who'd give me their time, and most veterans will talk about their experiences till the cows come home. Let's face it, we all like to spend lots of time telling everyone else how good we are and what we've done. So it is really good. Use that time and, so get out there and connect, because that's how you're going to find where the jobs are and where you're going to find the nuances about jobs. I use my resettlement grants well and enhanced learning credits. I milked them to every last penny they had. I already had managing successful programs and management of portfolios through the military. I did management of benefits and management of risk, plus an exec MBA to round off my credentials. And that was how I prepared myself. And by one of the talks I listened to, it was actually through the Officers Association, led to me seeing an advert linking to finding somebody else was in the business, speaking to them, and that's how I got my job. So, the third key takeaway from this was really, speak, learn, network, and there's a lot about having to learn the lingo of the company. The MOD talks about RDEL, CDEL. The National Highways is about OPEX and CAPEX. And if you talk in a foreign language to people, what you're saying will just diminish in value, because then they don't understand what you're saying. It's understanding, pass that information so they understand what you want to impart. I won't talk at the moment until I got in my job. I'll do that in a minute, but I'll give you a bit of. I now hire lots of program managers and PMO managers and directors. So, as a hiring manager, what am I looking for? I'm looking for people who've got both the experience at being either a program manager or a PMO manager, plus the qualifications. The qualifications are that little bit that they know what they're talking about. You've got a common lexicon of processes. You can fall back on the doctrine, and it's that balance of qualification and expertise that I'm always looking for. I do find when I'm interviewing people with just the qualifications and no experience, I do also get people with experience and no qualifications. The ones who rise to the top and get interviewed the most are those who can balance their qualification and experience. And most people in the military have got lots of experience of doing it. It's just they don't know how to package it up into selling themselves as a PMO person. We take a lot of stuff for granted. We're very brief in how we describe things. By going to the courses, you can put all your experience into the right little bullet points to sell yourself. Say, yeah, I'm a PMO expert, even though you've never formally been in a PMO. The other thing is size of projects. My projects in National Highways goes from £1 million up to £500 million. And clearly, when you're working at the £500 million level as a program manager, the level of risk and controls you need are different to if you're dealing with a £1 million project. And that is still different to somebody who's dealt with it at the £10,000 level. So it's explained to me what size of projects you worked on or what size of programs you worked on, so I can understand how much risk there is in somebody managing it. The military also don't do full costings in the way that the civil industry does. We assume military pay, pensions, all that sort of stuff is paid for. Similarly, for a lot of our logistics, we assume that the Royal Air Force and the Royal Navy will transport our stuff, and it's opaque. So normally we're just talking about labour and materials on site. If you're looking for construction, you're trying to get into program management, and you're looking at the size of projects that you've been dealing with, look at the full costs and speak to somebody who's been in the industry about what the full costs of a project were. because things which we think are £1 million schemes in the Ministry of Defence, actually in reality could be hundreds of millions of pounds when you put on all these other costs, which we don't see. I'm also looking for people with commercial experience. We're delivering that 25 billion every 5 years through the supply chain. So I'm also looking, especially at the program manager side of things, people who are good at managing suppliers. It is the NEC contracts, we're all onto NEC4 now, is the standard in industry now. Coming from the MOD, I wasn't allowed by MOD commercial to speak to any supplier unless they're in the room, and then I had to have my arms tied behind my back and a gag over my mouth. It's in civil infrastructure, if you're going to be a program manager, you probably will be dealing with suppliers all the time. It's one of the downfalls of coming from military, where we generally don't have the same commercial experience of somebody of similar age and experience in Civvy Street. There are ways you can do it by working for a club, working for a parish, working for a school, and running budgets and running contracts through that type of way, or get the training and have it as a known unknown against your personality. The other way is, as Paul did, and which I did, was come into a non-commercial role and then seen as a lower risk to then get that commercial experience to then progress up in your further career. The final thing which I'm always looking for as a hiring manager in the infrastructure world is somebody who's got safety experience. National Highways, we've got a mantra of home safe and well. Everyone needs to get home at the end of a good day shift as healthy as they were when they started it. And having a safety qualification to back up all the safety work which the MOD does just balances that up. And understanding that if you join infrastructure, that is a philosophy. And it's quite weird going from operational world in the military, where it was the biggest threat on the construction side was if you're going to get RPG'd or IED'd, to the biggest threat on a civil construction site is where you trip over your own boots and fall down a hole. So it's a different world, and it does take some getting used to. You don't need NEBOSH, but you do need something to back up your safety credentials. So the fourth key takeaway is you've got bags experience. Going on the courses not only gives you that qualification, but also allows you to translate all your experience into something that sells it better to a prospective hiring manager. And what's hiring manager, we look about risk. How do you get that hire as low risk as possible? So going back 6 years, how I got into my role in National Highways. I thought I'd be shoo-in. I didn't even get a look in by Network Rail. Some industries, right on it, you need 30 years experience, man and boy, to get into this industry. National Highways were recruiting a lot more intelligently. Nonetheless, I had several applications on that same time, running many other people, many other companies, and I was keeping my sectors and geography as broad as possible. Very much in the theory that if we can spend 6 months on tour, living in a tent regularly, working Monday to Friday away, till I got myself into a new sector, wasn't going to be any problem whatsoever. And I got into a non-commercial role first, as I alluded to earlier. The commercial is probably one of our biggest weaknesses, but non-commercial role first as a PMO manager. And very much I took a step back to get into a brand new sector. And this is actually quite common. The people you're facing against in an interview may have 10, 15, 20, 30 years experience in that sector as being a PMO, project manager in the construction sector, in transport or built environment. And you're coming in as a bit of unknown. It is not unwise to step back, build that credentials, and then accelerate back forward. And very much I was 6 months as a PMO manager, became a program manager for a year, got that commercial experience, took my chip out of the brain of military health and safety, put in the industry chip, and then became a regional director regional delivery director, then a regional director, and I've promoted effectively every 12 to 18 months ever since, back to probably where I should have been, but in a completely new sector with a completely different mindset. So your fifth key takeaway is, and very similar to what Paul was saying, is if you break into a new sector, you are at risk. Therefore, dropping down level may not be a backwards step until you can identify what your career path is, what you need to do as your professional development to then accelerate back forward, and using that leadership, knowledge, skills, experience in conjunction with your project delivery experience to do better. Then finally, program manager, PMO manager in National Highways. The analogy I like to use is a program manager sits atop lots and lots of projects. They're all going at different speeds with different activities, different outputs, different requirements being delivered, different problems. But the program manager is effectively like the pilot in a cockpit. And the PMO are like all the instrumentation in front of the cockpit, in front of the pilot. The PMO will translate how many risks, how much progress there has been on various projects, what are the issues, governance, reporting. They'll collate it all, create a dashboard, and tell them the key things that the program manager needs to think about. But unless the program manager shifts that the joystick or changes the power, nothing occurs. The projects and the program keep moving in the same direction, and it could be moving in the wrong direction. So the program manager uses all the information that PMO provides to make decisions. And personally, and in National Highways, we don't call them program managers, we call them program leaders, because you actually need to lead your program. So the PMO is all about getting that data, looking at the finances, looking at schedules, looking at risk, escalations for decisions either to the program manager or up to the steering group or the senior responsible owner. How much level of assurance do we need based on the size of the project and the spend? Advising the program manager about what the corporate responsibilities are. You can have things as part of the PMO such as comms and stakeholder managers in order to help create tools and actions. And in an average week as a program manager, what I'd be doing, I would have a weekly 60-minute with each of my project managers, an update on what's going. A monthly look at all the data coming in, looking at the so what's from that data, and then deciding if we need to do any actions thereafter. But also working out what we needed to report upwards, and if there's any escalations, I need to get buy-in from across the wider business. I would deal a lot of the time then with the delivery big risks and big issues. What was above the ability of a project manager to deal with? What was my responsibility to help that project manager deliver his projects, to deliver the program outcomes? And then what did I need help from above to either go through corporate friction or where I needed a corporate decision or something? Likely governance and start building out what the plan would be. And no difference from running a battle group, a mission, taking all the stuff down and basically creating synchronization matrices, a plan on a page, so you could see what was going on in your program over the next 12 weeks, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, and so you could make it understandable. Because PMO do hide a lot of detail in the data, and it's about simplifying that data into something which you as a program manager or program leader can lead from and know when you need to escalate and when you need to make a decision yourself. Program manager is a great job, as is PMO, and depends on whether you want to be providing and translating data into information, or whether you want to be making that leadership calls and being the decision maker. But yeah, both are very good, and both are great stepping stones once you've proven yourself at both those levels to then move on to director role. But also some of my best program managers have moved into PMO roles and vice versa, so you understand all the bits and pieces of how a program is put together, and actually they become the best directors because they understand all the tools at your disposal. That's it for me. I look forward to questions.
Jason, that was incredible. Thank you very much. A couple of questions have come in. If we could also ask Paul to put his camera on to join us. Caroline, are you there as well? Hi there, listen, thank you very much for that. A couple of questions have come in. I'll just kick off with a few. Paul, to you, I'll do a couple of quick fire ones. For you, what makes a good programme manager? Is it their rank? Is it more their strategic thinking? Is it their client engagement skills? What are you looking for?
Well, fundamentally, and as Jason alluded to it, take the rank thing away. It's about you as the individual and what you bring to the party. And I'll go back to something I posted on LinkedIn via BuildForce before. You bring a lot of skill sets to a company. You've got to be proactive. You get involved. You don't particularly stay within your swim lane, and you're looking laterally to see how you can work. And Jason spoke to, again, a similar point is you may not be strong on the commercial aspect, but why not walk alongside that person and lean into it and learn? For some of the roles I've ended up taking on within my first program, ended up being a kind of chief of staff role, because my director was an ex-role engineer, and he kind of went, can you just lead on with that? Because he knew who I was, and he knew I'd get things done, have a go, produce this document, do that type of stuff. So it's not always saying no, but it's going, okay, I'll give it a crack and have a look at it. I've worked across as a leading the LFE management, the stakeholder management piece, supporting the commercial, supporting the director, indeed stepping in for the director role. So essentially, it's about being able to manage and have that oversight of your program, the challenges, and not be scared to pick up the phone, have a face-to-face call with your program teams, your program delivery managers, that type of stuff, and really unpick the problems, understand the data, and then present that back in a really structured way to the rest of the senior program and PMO leadership team. And as Jason says, it's about you bringing the skill sets as a leader, as a veteran forward into that sector. So as again, what you said is what you think is normal for people that sometimes isn't in the industry. So it relies on use your skill set, stepping in and saying, I know how to do this. Package it in the right way, bring it back.
And just on that, what were once in the role, what did you realise your skill gaps were, and how did you overcome that?
So again, commercial stuff, the finance stuff, but massive skill gap, and I'm still exploring that. I'm looking into, I thought I understood risk. Do I really in the major programs? Probably not. There are some incredibly professional, risk people, schedule planners, etc. And when you really look at the skill sets they bring into major projects, it's incredible. The tool they use, the intuition, for example, just the length of time it takes to build a certain type of project, to have, to bring all that logistics into a program as well. That's stuff that's gained from experience. So this is why I said before that I'm trying to move from program management, PMO, into more of a program control space, just so I can suck up some of that wider knowledge before hopefully I then step up the ladder a little bit more.
And a question that's come in, did you achieve pay parity? Are you earning what you were in the armed forces, or
more?
Much money?
Yeah,
right,
so
okay.
the massive uplift gone in. I was promoted again within 18 months, and I've just secured another offer for another role, which takes me beyond where I thought I would be at this point in my career, again with another expectation. So yeah, I think it's really down to just building that brand, getting involved, and not being scared to step up front and be who industry expects you to be as a veteran. You've got all those core skill sets. Don't drop them, develop them.
And I mean, you sound ever so confident. You're both thriving in your careers, but if I can take you back to your transition, so where our listeners are at the moment, did you have any emotional wobbles? Were you fearful of the future? What got you through that period?
For me, yeah, absolutely. That's natural. It's the requirements, the needs. Where am I going to go to? But I looked at, okay, let's be realistic about this. I don't want to go to be director X or this huge position, because there's a lot of things and responsibilities that come with that. It's not just about securing a job in the pay packet. It's about building yourself up and managing your time. A lot of people gave me some good advice about that, and this is what we're trying to do here on this call. Is to say, be realistic, get into the industry, find your footing, and if need be, take a step back, take it side to the step to the side, and build your position up, build your life up outside of your role that you've taken on. You may end up moving home. You may adapt, and other things to your family, schooling for kids, and all the rest of it. You've got perhaps extra money coming in. You then perhaps got a military pension coming in. What do you do with that type of thing as well? So look for that advice of what to do, especially within this first 6 to 12 months. And just don't spend all of the money you get paid for your pension. That's a good thing. But don't be tempted, and don't be tempted to spend it on all of the qualifications, because there's a lot of companies out there that are set up to take your learning credits and the cash from you as well at the same time. So it's just get in, see how the land lies, suck up the environment, and just.
My perspective, it's a real kick in the nether regions when you think I'm a shoe into this job, and you don't hear anything back from the hiring manager. Or you think I'm a shoe-in for this job, I did a really good interview, and you don't get the job. And as a real learner, the first lesson I had to learn was, it's not how good you are, it's how good you are compared to everybody else on the interview panel. And there may be somebody who's just brilliant, and you could be really, really good, but you come second and you get no prizes. And so those do lead to emotional wobbles. You think, oh my God, I can't do any more. But you do have to cast your net as wide as possible and narrow it down. What I found really useful was when I got closer to got through a SIFT, or when I saw a job, I would go on LinkedIn, find out which Royal Engineer I knew in that business, and you get back, look, I'm leaving, can you help me out? And they'll help you craft your CV so it maximises your chance of getting through the SIFT. And then when I got to the interview, I'll then have to spend another sort of hour or 2 hours with somebody who do that translation business for me. This is my experience. What are the challenges of the business? And you go through that, and you'd wrap a cold towel around your head, and you work out all the possible questions and permutations, and you spend about a week preparing for an interview. You go for it, you come second, and you go, brilliant. And you literally have to have a shot whiskey, pick yourself up, and start all over the next day. But at least if you get into the interviews, you know on the right track. And you've got to keep telling yourself, I'm on the right track. It'll come. There'll be one which is the perfect fit. Yeah. And don't get too despondent too early.
And just on your career development, for the more senior ranks that are listening, is your route the most likely course in terms of stepping back to accelerate forward? Is that where their head should be?
In the construction and infrastructure world, yes, because you're getting people who have been 30 years experience. And if you think that the corollary, you won't take somebody who's been a 30-year construction manager and put them in charge of a brigade or an air wing or an RF station. Yeah. They'll probably step down a couple of ranks. So why do we think that if you're a brigadier, you should be able to step straight into running a big company? Mm-hmm. We wouldn't accept it the other way.
Okay, and just on that experience piece, you said that during recruitment, you're looking for experience and qualifications. For those with no experience, what advice would you give to them to break into this career?
Quite often when people ring me up and they've got tangential experience, is come and have a look at us. Within the infrastructure world, you can be a client, a consultant, a designer, or contractor, a builder. Come to one of our sites, we'll walk you around and show you all different parts of it on a day, and then we can show you which bits you like, speak to people, make connections. And then it's the beg, borrow, steal from friends to get that experience of, the only way you're going to learn is being on site or being in a project office or PMO office, and find out what's going on. So make connections, ask, can I come and shadow you for a day? And what I did, fortunately, to get part of that experience was I shadowed somebody in Network Rail for 2 weeks, which helped me understand the different world. Some companies make you sign more performers, others less.
And both you and Paul mentioned the MBA. Did that really open up how you think? Did that change you in any way, or was it just another academic qualification? I'll ask you first, Jason.
Okay. It's more of a translation device. Right. I don't think anything on my MBA told me anything new, but it gave me a translation device. I could put my experience and knowledge and the MOD's sort of how we deal with finance into civvy speak, because everybody talks about financial reporting in the same way because it's all the normal business stuff. So, and it put all my sort of strategic stuff I've done through military career into, but how would a civilian think about strategic stuff?
Right.
Very useful translation.
Paul, worth the investment? You'd recommend it?
It was, yeah. And so from my point of view, so I left, as a flight attendant, captain, but essentially I was still a sergeant. Really, before that, I hadn't gone through or had the opportunities to go through all the different formal military kind of qualifications. So for me, it was a piece of elevation. It gives me that translations piece as well. But on the other side, when you've got a company looking at you as an individual, having a degree, and again, no one's saying go away and do an MBA, but if you can do an executive MBA, it's not that difficult. Just having it at the top of your list or within your CV does speak volumes about you. It does. You've got the qualifications, because you'll soon get into the industry and you'll realise there's a really lot of high qualified people there. And as Jason said, they've either got a wealth of experience or they've got a number of qualifications, to bring with them. So it's definitely worth considering looking at.
Okay, and just on the qualifications, if I could ask you both just to key in the chat box, just what qualifications you have got, just somebody's going to try and replicate it. So thanks for that question, Din. The other question was around some of the benefits working as a PMO in your various companies, and if you can give a salary range. Start with you, Paul.
So you'd be looking at, I think, as someone with some relative experience, perhaps saying, say, between the 45 and 55k mark.
Okay.
Is kind of reasonable to look at. If you've got some experience, it might be less than that. If you've got more experience than that, perhaps you can elevate that as well. I think when you start to get above 65 in the 75 bracket, unless you've actually worked in the industry, that could be a stretch. And I say that purely because there's a lot of expectations on you, and sometimes people have gone in with too higher expectations really the salary bracket, and they've just been discounted. Perhaps they haven't been as strong an interview. There's someone better there. So again, if you're over ambitious in that regard, then sometimes that might go against you. So again, it's about being realistic. And again, this will map into your whole program plan, your kind of a life plan when you leave the service. Get into a role, break into the industry. Find your feet. You've got work, you've got money coming in, you've got the pension coming in. Think cleverly about your own finances. Take that step up, learn the game, and you will soon move forward in both your professional accreditation, your experience, and your salary will come with that as well. It will come quickly if you do it the right way.
And Jason, you can cover that.
Yeah, and I'll put it more from the client perspective, so that if there's a sort of a ladder, local authorities at the bottom, probably then National Highways, then it's Network Rail, and then on top HS2. But in fact, HS2 are up here. They're on Popstar wages. So National Highways, we're towards the bottom of that ladder. To be the reporting manager in a PMO, or the risk manager in a PMO, or the benefits manager, you're mid-40s. As you become a PMO manager, you're sort of top end 50s, bottom 60s. Program manager, you then sort of 65 to sort of 75 bracket, and that's the type of bit we pay in National Highways. Network Rail and HS2, you go a bit for that one. For local authorities, extremely parsimonious because most of them are bankrupt.
Yeah, okay, good point. A question from Daniel around CSCS card and a health and safety qualification. Yes, they are mandatory. They are required for most roles. We do appreciate and respect the fact that some of our veterans have no training budget, so sometimes they're having to fork it out their own pockets. In that instance, you will have some civic experience, so maybe an employer would consider it. But for our service leavers that do have a funding budget, we would probably suggest, if you can secure the courses that are mandatory for those roles, we would strongly recommend that. Vicky has asked, what do you feel about Power BI? Paul or Jason?
Yep.
I'll let Paul start.
Sorry. Oh yeah. Power BI, great tool. A lot of it, companies are using it. Your digitalization as a whole, across industries, projects, etc., is something that they're expected to be quite familiar with. I'm not saying you have to be a Power BI expert, but a lot of familiarity. That includes Excel as well. Excel wasn't my strongest point, but being able to use things like that quite proficiently is something that they look for as well. It's obviously mastery type tool. It's something that even for example, DIO are looking as well to bring on board as a resource. Just to, as Jason said before, understand the data that's presented to you, so that enables you to kind of translate that better as well. So definitely worthwhile looking at.
I'm a bit of an Excel nerd, so I like my Excels, pivot tables, conditional formatting.
Yeah.
So it is not the Power BI per se. Power BI is merely a way of taking the lots of data, doing all that pivot tables, conditional formatting behind the scenes, and presenting a more unified picture. It's taking data and creating information. But the art of being a good PMO manager, good project manager, as Paul just said, is then asking the so what. So what is this data telling me? And a good PMO manager will help you interpret what that is. And you can have good data and you have bad data. But if you don't follow the breadcrumbs back into the base data, the Excel spreadsheets, the pivot tables to work out what it's telling me and why, you'll never actually be able to take the right decisions. So Power BI, yeah, it's another tool of visualizing data. You still got to understand the so what's, and then you've got to make a decision to do something about it.
Great answer,
and
Jason.
that supports your forecasting of data as well, which is another part of the skill set as well, being able to forecast across programs.
Perfect. The second half of Vicky's question is any chance of a job? So we'll connect Vicky with both of you. So where you are recruiting. So thank you for that question, Vicky. I like that. A question from Tressy's just thanking you both. Service leaver due out 24-25 would welcome bridging my aviation safety project and risk management skills into the commercial space. So what's the best method for doing that? And is there a work placement on the highways? So Jason, over to you.
I'm trying to think. Depending on where you are, we have a live jobs board. Unfortunately, what you find out is the days of the Army Personnel Centre, the RF Personnel Centre, moving everybody every 6 months is long gone. Jobs come up when somebody retires. People can be in the job for 30 years and then they suddenly retire. Then a job pops up. So based on all that aviation and risk stuff, it's looking for a risk management job or engineering risk management job anywhere. Network rail, highways. We have a big engineering and safety department. Set up the alerts for all those type of organizations, and then at some point an alert will come down. If you restrict yourself to one sector and one geography, those alerts may be few and far between. Open aperture as wide as possible, you'll get more choice. But unfortunately, jobs with specifications are fickle. It depends on when somebody promotes, leaves, retires, whatever happens. And so what is on our board today will be completely different in 28 days' time.
Okay, and just a question to both of you. Obviously, Paul sitting within ACOM, a consultancy organisation, and Jason very much the client body. Would the roles be very different for both of you?
I think from what I've seen on both sides of the fence, I think they are different, but there are more similarities, and I think there is differences. You're able to work inside the business, improve the skill sets you've got, and how you operate, and the way you approach challenges, and think about the client space. That's great. When you're in the client space, it's about you're bringing your professionalism and bringing again those same skill sets forward, and showing them that you're building trust with the client. Giving them a kind of reassurance that you're managing their program. You're giving that assurance across the whole piece is really important as well. So a lot more similarities, I think.
Yeah, it's very similar.
Okay.
Ultimately, we as a client aren't there to make a profit, to give back to shareholders, but we have to maximise our spend and be reliable, predictable delivery agents on behalf of government. And we use the good likes of ACOM to help us do that in some businesses and in some projects. And so if you're a consultant or contractor or designer, you're doing two things. One is prove to the client that your plans are going to work and that you've got all the risks covered, everything, but also going back to your business saying, we are still making a profit on this, because making a loss would be really, really bad for a company. Whereas we just need to know, is it deliverable? have I got confidence in your plans? And then we look at all the stuff, all the projects, all the programs being run in a region or across national highways. Are we delivering what government wants at the price point that they want?
Okay, and a question, Paul Hutchison, a man after my own heart, wants to be a QS, so kind of cheering you on, Paul, cheering you on. So I think he's going to reach out to you, Jason, just to ask if there's any opportunities within your organisation, within the QS space. So I personally ask you to help him. So we'll definitely do what we can, Paul.
In the southwest, we're gapping 7 QSs. So
right. Okay, there you go.
We're recruiting QSs. Apply.
Okay, perfect. A great questions come in from Daniel. He's looking at degree apprenticeships, but what he's fundamentally asking is, for the more junior ranks, is this a viable career? So, Paul, would you be looking at assistance in this space?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a viable career. It's just finding that role and that route in, especially if we don't come with experience as well. And depends on what role that you want to kind of break into as well. I'm happy to have a chat with anybody and help them explore the various opportunities that are out there, and help them understand where they might be a good fit and where where that gap may be as well. So. But yeah, definitely a viable career. Take rank out of it. Anybody can get into this role, and if you're the right person, and you apply yourself as well. So there's nothing stopping people getting into the industry in these roles.
And further back to what I said right at the start, nobody outside the military understands the difference between a private and a general. So rank is irrelevant. They all think you're the same anyway. And if you National Highways, we've now got 5% of our workforce. We're just shy of 7,000 people. 5% are either graduates, degree apprentices, or apprentices. And every year starts about probably about a couple of months ago. But we have an annual process of recruiting people to do degree apprentices across project management, program management, PMO, commercial, digital. Even got a degree apprentices on how to be an operator in our ops room. So lots of degree apprentices out there. We have an annual cycle of recruiting. Go on to the National Highways website. You can find out more about it. And if my kids were at the right age, I'll be shoving them to degree apprentices as a way forward, because it is a much better way than getting £80,000 debt up behind your neck.
Okay, good advice. Last question.
I was going to say, it's a good point to understand that national highways and companies like AECOM are slightly different. AECOM is a professional engineering services company, consultancy. That's slightly different. It's worth looking into those companies. So AECOM, Mace, Turner Townsend, those type of things, and seeing what they offer. And the reason why I say that is sometimes these companies are second time round companies, so they might want you to cut your teeth with it, say DIO or another similar public body type, and then before you move into the consultancy space and the PMO, that's just a different option.
Okay, final question to both of you for our service leaver community watching. What one thing do you wish you knew? Jason, start with you.
How to negotiate salary. Because the first time it came to me, I was like, what? You're asking me a question? I've always been told by Her Majesty how much I was going to get, and woefully underprepared for that question. Yeah, that's probably the one thing which I could have done better. And
Paul, to you.
Yeah, very, very similar. When I was promoted once, I thought, oh, wow, it's going to be a massive uplift in salary. It wasn't. I thought, hold on. And then I just had to I got a really good mentor in the company that kind of said, look, this is the kind of bandwidth. This is how it works within industry and different companies. And this is how they kind of manage it. And you understand where your position is within there. So, yeah, it's negotiating salary, because at the end of the day, life's more enjoyable when you get paid that little bit more, isn't it, as well? It's more incentivizing as well. And actually, on a serious note, if you don't get what you want and expectations, then companies know that you may be looking elsewhere. And why not? Because once you build your brand and build your confidence, you've got that experience and think, etc. behind that. Don't be scared about moving on to somewhere else, because it's about your life journey, isn't it? This is your potentially a second career for you. So, yeah, salary negotiation is that dark art. That's what's annoying.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you. Well, listen, thank you to Paul and Jason for their incredible contribution today. Excellent employers with ACOM and National Highways. So a shout out to them for continuing to be excellent ambassadors within the Armed Forces community. Remember, you're not alone. BuildForce are here to support and guide you as you transition. So please get in touch if you have any questions and we'll help you take it further. And I'll pass back to Caroline for final insights.
Yeah, thanks, Angela. Thanks, guys. That was really good. And big thanks for all your support you give to us and our service leavers. So thank you. So just a shout out for me, what's coming up next. So 6th of June, we have our site manager virtual career chat. So again, just log in, register for that. And then if you fancy a walk and a talk, please do come and join us, the BuildForce team, our veterans, our mentors, our employers, as we will be doing a 15-mile walk from the pub in Dorset back to the pub for refreshments. It's a really, really fantastic day. So please let us know if you want to join us. Enjoy the sunshine wherever you are. I think it's going to hold out to the weekend. And remember, we are here, we care, we're here for you all the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Paul.